right. Okay, well, we can go ahead and get started since we want to make sure we have time for people to see the exhibit as well. So, welcome to our Crease Noon lecture event. For those of you who I haven't met, my name is Elizabeth King. I'm the director of the Center for Russian, East European, Eurasian Studies, and also an associate professor with the School of Public Health. So I welcome you here today for our Crease Noon lecture and kind of a continuation of our discussions and event with Gluklya. Some of you were able to attend the film last night, screening and discussion, but for those of you who weren't, you'll also be exposed to some new ideas here and continued conversation. So I want to thank our co-sponsors for this lecture, this Department of Slavic Languages and Literatures, Penny Stamp School of Art and Design, the Institute for Research on Women and Gender. I also wanted to take an opportunity to thank Diane Beal, who's an independent curator and specialist of nonconformist art, who's really had this idea of bringing Gluklya to Crease. This idea was supposed to happen in 2020, and now we're here 5 years later. But we still have our Crease 60th anniversary banner, which would have come at the time of your original one, so we can also get a photo in front of the 60th anniversary banner as well. We saved it for your arrival. I also, Diane is an alumna of University of Michigan with a Reese major, and also curated Gluklya's exhibition that will be opening today, right after this lecture series. I also, that putting together, I feel like just finally finishing the last touches, but work in progress. Thank you to Liz Millington, our Assistant Director of Programs and Operations, for also helping to do the installation over the last couple of days, along with Diane and Gluklya. So I want to, before I do a formal introduction of today's speaker, I want to highlight some remaining events at Crease this semester. Our next Crease Noon lecture is later this month on March 26th here in this room. We'll be joined by Dr. Kevin Bartig from Michigan State University, professor of musicology. He'll be giving a lecture on Prokofiev's Alexander Nevsky and its afterlives for those who will be able to attend at UMS. They're staging the Alexander Nevsky, or screening Alexander Nevsky. And then Tuesday, April 1st, Crease is happy to co-sponsor a book talk by a Reese lecturer. Dr. Natalia Pershina will be giving a talk on her new book, The Social Roots of Authoritarianism. It's sponsored by the Center for Emerging Democracies. And then we have our final Crease Noon lecture on Wednesday, April 16th, where we welcome Agnieszka Mrozik, who is a visiting fellow at the Copernicus Center here, also an associate professor at the Institute of Literary Research of the Polish Academy of Sciences, for her talk, Women's Forgotten Revolution, Communism, and the Struggle for Emancipation in Post-War Poland. These are some of our upcoming events to look forward to. Today, I'd like to review a brief introduction of Gluklya, who's considered a pioneer of Russian performance art. She was born in Leningrad, and today she lives and works in Amsterdam. After graduating from the Mukhina Academy of Art and Design, Leningrad, she co-founded the Factory of Found Clothes from 1995 to 2012, and is a founding member of the Shtodelit group, which started in 2002 and continues to the present day. Through her artistic activism, Gluklya redefines what it means to be, quote, an art worker, one who engages with pressing political and social issues through intimate collaboration. Today, for her Crease Noon lecture, she will present her research on the exploitation of women working in the textile and fashion industries in Kyrgyzstan, which is related to her exhibit. I'll also just put a note that the exhibition will open as soon as this lecture is over at 1:20, and we'll also have a reception. Will be food and drink, but you have to enjoy that in the hallway because you can't bring it into the gallery. I'm sure people will remind you later, but I've now at least said that as well. I think without further ado, I'll turn it over to Gluklya, and we'll have your lecture and leave some time at the end for some discussion and Q&A from the audience, right? Great, thank you, welcome.
Thank you for coming. I'm very happy to be here and honored among amazing people was before me to speak. I propose to first show the film, which called Scarlet Sails, and it's archival film which was made within my project Factory of Unclothes, because it's related to the topic and the exhibition that you will see after the presentation.
Can you tell what year it was made?
It was made 2006. Yeah. And it's dedicated to Alexander Green. Alexander Green was a Soviet writer who wrote I will save you words, I will save you words. Yeah. Who wrote this a famous novel, Scarlet Sails. And it's about the dream which the girl have. It was a girl who was living in the forest. Her father was a sort of outsider of the village. And she grew up a little bit like they are saying strange girl, little bit deviant girl. But in her childhood, she walked through the forest, and the magic magician told her a story that once upon a time the prince will come to her on the ship with the scarlet sails and will take her to the utopian world and to paradise and married her, and everything will be like her life will be transformed. So the girl started to believe in this dream. And then the second part of the novel is unfolding the story of Captain Grey from aristocratic family, and he is escaping from the castle, from his rich parents, in order to find himself and to learn how to build ships. And so the destiny brought him to this village. He was walking through the forest. He saw the sleeping girl. Her name was Asol. And then he was very amazed of the image of this girl, put her ring already in her finger. Then he returned to village, and he had this story that he asked people in the bar, do you know what is this girl lying in the forest, beautiful young girl sleeping in the forest? And they said, oh, that's our crazy soul. She believed in this story about scarlet sails. And that was it. And Captain Grey, since that, he conceived the idea that he have to realize this dream for her. So he went back to the village and he bought a scarlet sails, he built a ship, and he came to her. So that was the original story of the writer. And we did a loosely following the story. So we actually reinvented the story, and I invite you to watch as the start of our conversation.
весенним утром ранним над океаном алые взметнутся паруса, и скрипка пропоет над океаном. Не три глаза, ведь это же не сон, и алый парус, правда, гордо реет. В той бухте, где отважный Грей нашел свою осоль, в той бухте, где осоль дождалась Грея. С друзьями легче море переплыть, и соль морскую легче есть на пару. А без друзей на свете было очень трудно жить, и серый стал бы даже алый парус. Не три глаза, ведь это же не сон, и алый парус, правда, гордо реет. В той бухте, где отважный Грей нашел свою осоль, в той бухте, где осоль дождалась Грея. Ребята, надо верить в чудеса. Когда-нибудь весенним утром ранним над океаном алые взметнутся паруса, и скрипка пропоет над океаном.
So that was this film, and it's opening this topic about serving workers, and also relationships with the dream, and unveiling the mythological expectations, and obviously it's about feminism, And in this other room you will see another film which is lately produced, which is also finalizing with the word feminism. And now, because we have limited time, I have to jump here and talk about the latest project. It's about garment workers in Bishkek. I should tell you, or I should do that. So I was there 3 times already, and I selected the country because of my interest to the textile workers, because the Bishkek, the Kyrgyzstan, Bishkek is the capital of Kyrgyzstan. It is a center of the textile production. So it is comparable with the sweatshops of Asia, and Indonesia or Bangladesh, because the Kyrgyzstan workers are making clothes for export to Russia. So my topic of research is post-Soviet colonialism, and I started from researching the European colonialism. And first I went to Indonesia in 2019. And in Indonesia, I got the information about this enormous exploitation which is going on. And I was very impressed by the stories and how the exploitation at the work linked with the violence, domestic violence and sexual oppression. So, but then pandemic happened, and I cannot return to Indonesia, and also because I didn't find the possibility to reach my target, which was to talk with garment workers personally, to take interview from them, to do the proper empirical research at the place, and so it was impossible. And that's why I was very happy by invitation which came from Garage Institution in Moscow in 2021 to take part in the research dedicated to post-Soviet colonialism. And every participant of this project was invited to select a republic, a former republic of the Soviet Union. Soviet Union, as you maybe know, consisted from 15 republics, and I choose Kyrgyzstan. So my research was in archives and talking with people, and here you see the национально-колониальный гнет, means in the Bishkek library we found a lot of amazing materials related to the topic. It's written national colonial oppression here in the file. Yeah, that's I already explained. So I was studying letters, documents, photos, and films. And my target was to create a performance. That this performance didn't happen yet, maybe in the future. So the very important was to see these cards, which is about price, the price of women who was paid for the becoming a Soviet regime in Central Asia. Here you see the Salieva Urkuya, first chairman of Market Village Council, Naukat district, killed by Basmachi in 1934. Basmachi, it's the man from rich level of society, and it's very typical that the women were going to study, and suddenly they were rushing and stabbing her on her way to study. That's how the women looked before Soviet came. So they were completely in burqa. And I recommend you to see the film 3 Songs of Lenin in YouTube by Dziga Vertov, which also was made in 1934. And it's really great to see it because it's exactly the year that this girl was killed. But there you can see propaganda in a very beautiful way, and with a sublime text. Here, for example, is written that, the old one is slowly going away, and Zhenodeli, it's a department where the work with women was made. They are working in a very hard, conditions, and they are reaping the East women from the chain of slavery and making her equal to the equal comrade. So it's very beautiful words, and this is a song about a woman who take out her burqa, chadra, and about lamp which is coming to Aul. Aul is a village. About the water which is coming to us, to desert. About illiteracy which became literal, and that's all of this is Lenin. And now we are at our time, and that's it was a first sewing worker, Rahat, whom I met, and this is her house, which is in a very poor conditioned area in Bishkek with enormous smoke. Kyrgyzstan, unfortunately, is the worst or one of the worst country in Central Asia with enormous pollution. So that's how they are producing their clothes. And she was, Rahat was constantly saying that she's very happy to work here, but I was very moved of the conditions, and all my words that I prepared to tell was vanished from my mouth. And I remember that only I can ask, what was your play where you were a child? And she said, I played in stones. And I understood at that moment that the play is actually a luxury thing in this context. And that's why I named my exhibition, which was realized in 2022, to those who have no time to play. And the parts of this exhibition you can see after presentation. And that is another garment worker. Her name is Samira, and she was the youngest, and she also was very thankful that she is working, because in the village where they came from, it's even worse life, because then they stuck with the situation that they are only reduced to the role of mother, being married, mostly unhappy. And then was the third garment worker, Mira, from LGBT community. and she spoke about her work experience, which was linked to systematic violence. And she spoke that through the encounter of the feminist community, she became aware of that, because half of her life she lived like not realizing what's going on with her. So it was constant, like daily based violence from the one husband and another, and I had also from another women the similar things, that this violence that they experienced for many of them perceived as a natural something which like they cannot overcome, or it's like, so it should be like it took a time for her to realize and reflect that the truth. So that she should be free and resist, and that the life can be changed, and she should act. And she also explained about this beautiful turban, the head. But for many of my with whom the women with whom I talked, this is not beautiful, because it's a symbol of oppression, when kidnapping, which is flourishing in some places in Kyrgyzstan and also in other countries of Central Asia, because it's a symbol of young country after colonization, which are memorizing the ancient tradition. So the kidnapping is a symbol for new nationalism, which unfortunately is going on. So it's inevitable in mostly cases, the feature of the becoming the nation after colonization process. So in Kyrgyzstan, they also recalling this tradition of kidnapping, and then after this first night, they are putting this hat. Then my second part of the journey was to Isyk, and I met with the technique, the felt technique of making carpets, and the room looked like that, and it was amazing smell of the ships. So it was a family production. There was around 7 people in the family. That's a grandmother. That's how we did this. So first it is like felt is going to the ground, and you are following the lines, the drawing. Then it is going to the special machine, and before, in the ancient times, it was all made by foot, but now they invented the machine, and it's around 20 minutes in this machine with enormous sound to press together the textile, and then it's coming out as again you will see it in the room. So that's just how we made it, because we came to the idea that we can make a toys as sort of puppets, and I was drawing together with drawing there, and then we made them. Yeah, here is very important information about the oppression. I must say that the topic of migration is with me since 2012. I started it in St. Petersburg, and I cannot imagine that time that I will travel to Kyrgyzstan but then it happened, and so there is there's a lot of cases of modern slavery which has existed in our times, when workers are held together in small rooms without proper condition. A lot of cases when they are taking passports from them, and then they can kept for years without passport, with a very low payment, living together like in barracks or in camps. And unfortunately, this situation is with Central Asia workers are growing, and now it's became a little bit better, but it's still going. This is an image of koshogo. Koshogo is the name of textile of this notorious tradition of kidnapping. So it's ancient tradition that in the house is this koshogo, and it's the first marriage night, which in this context is rape. So it's protest against kidnapping. That's how we looked in 2023, because now I was in Kyrgyzstan 3 times, in 21, 22, 23. And in 23 it was supported by SS Art Links. It's an American organization, and now they're based in New York. And many years they made a project in St. Petersburg which called Art Prospect. And since war happened, they started to work in Central Asia. And in 2023, I came to the idea that the change can be reached only through the very long time project. So I propose to start to build the relationships which are more long-term, and propose to organize workshops which are uniting artists and garment workers. And we did this first workshop in the mountains. We went to the mountains and we spoke about the problems and how we can resist. And so it was like all day in mountains we spent together, speaking about all kind of topics related. And then during this workshop, the idea came of again producing the puppets, which we saw as a happy двойники, doppelganger.
Doubles?
No. No, it's another word. Doppel. Yes. And so the idea was that we should produce the puppets which are representing another body. Another body is not overworking body, but it's something which is relating to the dream, to the other reality. So it's one of the example. And Chinara, she produced 2. They are like 2 halves of me. One is always smiling and has everything, a house, children, and work. And the other is sick, suffering, trying to find solutions to endless problems. So that's this endless problems body. And then it was installation and also smaller, shorter video with the dance. Yeah, thank you.
ask a question, I just ask you to state your name and affiliation.
Okay, my name is Marisha Ostafin. I have no affiliation. I'm retired.
I think you're always
Is there stigma attached when the girl wears the turban after she's been kidnapped?
Yes, yes, yes. It's very.
Why would a girl bring attention to herself like that?
Is it her choice
Or is
to
it
wear
her
it?
choice, or is somebody?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a very good question. Thank you. The stigma is exactly like when she's entering the house, then she's already like dirty.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and that's very strong still. That's unfortunately that. Yeah. So in many cases, if parents are not progressive, they are immediately submitted to the situation. And they're just like, okay, so that's a destiny, so we cannot do anything, and so on. But there was some cases where parents, like progressive parents, were really fighting, and then the girl was brought back, and so it was a lot of cases where the situation was reworked. But in some cases, it's this.
But who puts the turban on her?
The elderly woman.
Oh.
Yeah.
And how long does she have to wear it?
No, that is the ancient tradition. It's 40 meters turban, which came from the nomadic history, because the women were like putting everything to her head. So it's a beautiful tradition, but they saw it differently now. So for them, it's a symbol of oppression, of this misery, this horrible destiny, and so.
Oh, hello. Thanks.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. My name is Natalia. I'm a journalist from Kyrgyzstan. Thank you for your nice presentation and for your nice job. I just want to, I don't have any questions, but I just want to make some corrections on right kidnapping issues in Kyrgyzstan.
Mm.
We have done massive protest on this issue, and
Yeah.
in 2019, the law of criminalization of the right kidnapping was implemented in our country, and right now, right kidnapping just stopped. We
Really?
don't have any right kidnapping issues, thanks God. Yeah.
No, officially yes,
Maybe
but
it's very rare in some rural places, but even in rural places, we have stopped this issue. And the second thing about white turban, the photo you have shown, it's an ancient hat. It calls elechek. Yes, it's a nomadic hat. Our women used to wear elechek, the 40 meters of white material, because Kyrgyz people used to nomad everywhere, and when they died, they needed white material to bury.
Yes.
People. And it was just in case. And when women gave birth, they needed again this white material to keep baby. So
Yeah.
they were having it for the reason, I mean, not for the forcing women to stay in someone's house. And white shawl, it's
Yeah.
a symbol of, it was a symbol of bride kidnapping, of course, and the relatives of the groom who kidnapped women, they used to force a young girl to stay at home, putting into her head white shawl. But currently, this tradition just disappeared from 2019, when our 2 girls were murdered in 1 year. The result was like so shocking for our community, and a lot of women made women's marches. And recently, in March 8, in Bishkek, we had like massive women march against violence to women. So I want to just add and clarify these questions. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I know about that, but unfortunately in 21 I got this information. So
Probably it was like old information when you got this, but Yeah, a lot of things was done.
Maybe it's like still
Maybe.
going secretly. I
No,
don't know,
no,
but
no.
it's. You sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty
It's
sure because
open line
if
foundation.
someone kidnaps the girl, those people, the group of people is going to be jailed for 15, at least 7 years.
No,
And there have
we
been a
hope.
lot of cases of jail and prosecution.
Yeah, we hope that it finished, but I got
hope
this
so. But
information.
in Kazakhstan, as I heard, in Kazakhstan it's still going on.
In
some
Kazakhstan?
countries- Yeah,
Ah.
in some countries of Caucasus and Kazakhstan it's still going on.
Ah. No, I got it from Open Line Foundation, which
Maybe
is
it's
closed,
old data.
which is closed now. They were saying that it's 21.
Maybe it's all.
Yeah.
My name is Dennis Carter.
Yeah.
My affiliation is that I had 2 degrees from the University of Michigan and a long time ago, and now I'm trying to reclaim some of the money that I spent on those degrees by attending these free sessions. I'll have to go for another 20 years before I can reclaim the money. I also want to say I'm glad I don't have to carry around my burial clothes. I'm hoping not to die anytime soon, but if I had to carry around my burial clothes, as you've indicated, that would not be a good thing. You talked about the investigation at the plant where the owner had confiscated the passports. And we see that happening places all around the world. And you talked about how the government was investigating that particular owner. But did you get the sense that that was just like lip service or just saying it just for the sake of saying it? Or did you get a sense that that investigation was legitimate, was something that was really real?
That's a question of continuous investigation. Because I'm like artist researcher and not like real academical researcher, I'm searching the ways, all possible ways to get this truth. So I don't know, I cannot maybe answer your question now. But thank you for paying attention to that. And what you would propose as to be like more close to?
What I propose for what?
To be sure that.
Oh no, that's a good question. I mean, I guess for me, knowing that it's a legitimate interest of the government is different from just simply the government saying, "Hey, we're checking this out. We'll look into it," and not doing anything. Especially if the problem is so prevalent, that means they would be checking a lot of businesses, a lot of owners of businesses and so forth. And it seems to me that would be a major challenge. That's why I was asking.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
I have a related question. So my name is Derek Groom. I work at the Weiser Center for Europe and Eurasia. So the factory in question now is in Russia, correct? Do you know, is there a similar problem within Kyrgyzstan, in Bishkek, about are there instances of essential, modern day slavery in these factories where the workers, whether they're Kyrgyz or migrant workers from other countries from the region, fall victim to that?
I didn't face exactly this sort of slavery, but it's another slavery. It's slavery coming from the free market concept, because the principle how they're working is the more items of clothing I will produce, the more money I will receive. So there is a very hard for them to control the production time, because in their mind is like I have to work, oh, a little bit more. So compare with the Soviet factory, for example, right? So in Soviet time it was like 8 o'clock or 7 you start, 5 you finish, and that's it, right? So they are going home. And with the free market, it's not, nothing is outside sending the signal. So the responsibility is on their shoulders. They have to be self-controlled and be able to say stop at a certain moment, but it's not going. So it's a sort of like inner slavery, that's another.
Can I ask you? I'm Diane Beal. I wanted to ask you where you think the work you have done so far will lead you in terms of your artistic practice. What are you thinking about next for this project, or maybe another one?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to work with the new support. So I got support for this project from Eurasia Foundation, Polarities Network, Eurasia, China, Great Britain. So I hope to continue and produce a new film, I hope, and to try to construct the situation where, with the long term, with sanatorium for seamstresses, where artists can meet garment workers, and it's a sort of curated residence. So because usually the concept of residence is like we are giving you space, and in some cases some money, and that's it. And I'm proposing to be it like more curated, so to construct the situation that garment workers are coming, meeting artists, and in this dialogue producing the work.
Yeah, maybe you can talk a little bit about that former project you did, the Union of Unemployed, because you were doing that kind of collaboration.
Yes, that's another line of this project. I wanted to show the film, but there is no time. It started also in 2012 in St. Petersburg with the work Utopian Unemployment Union, where the ballerinas, like really classical ballet performers, they were meeting unemployment guys who were migrants. So we constructed the situation that they're meeting and producing performance together. So it can be seen in the site. This film is in the site. And then in 2012, it was Wings of Migrants, which also was performance and the migrants from Tajikistan. And I told you that at that time I just cannot imagine I'm going there, not only because of economy, but because of this psychological
Yes, because
imperial
first you
actually
started
thinking.
working with the first you began working with the migrants who were living in Moscow.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And then finally,
In St. Petersburg.
10 years later, you got.
In St. Petersburg, not in Moscow.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Can I ask you to return to like thinking about the film Scarlet Sails, and like maybe it's obvious, like I feel like there's some things, but I'd like to hear from your point of view, like the choice of like the scarlet sails, like what's the significance of like the red and or the scarlet color, the connection maybe to the book, like could you make it a little, from your eyes, more explicit?
Yeah, scarlet is obviously the symbol of communism. And it's blood, it's energy, but it's from the first thing. It's about communism, and my position is left. I'm left artist, so it came also not like very quick. First, this film actually marked this this transition from working like more poetic and more like abstract, I would say, to the more consciously be positioned as a left citizen and artist. So yeah, but we really love this story because it's mixing the political view and problematizing also a lot of things. And of course it's about the dream which is Scarlet Sails bringing to us, but at the same time like the high sublimity of the dream, the utopian aspect, and but at the same time still like seductive and utopian as a dream that we really attracted. So for us, being a long time absolutely apolitical, it was a very important change, because when Putin came to power, there is another film, Triumph of Fragility, you can see in internet. It's about that we realized that there is the people and their problem also. We are surrounded by other people, and we cannot anymore concentrate only on the art community, which we were doing because of the trauma from the collapse of Soviet Union, when we appeared as a like denying any ideological pressure. So we even denied that we're feminists, because our elderly sisters were saying, "Oh, girls, you're doing with clothes some things, interesting things. You are feminists." And we were saying, no, we are not, because we wanted to be detached from any influence. And still, like many Russian people, still harmed by that. And my mother, for example, she cannot hear the word Marxism. If I'm pronouncing the word Marxism, she's like, "Oh, this cannot be. Do you remember Stalin and the camps?" And so many people cannot still digest this ideological pressure and trauma which came from Soviet Union. But another time came, and we again returned to the values of Soviet socialist ideas, and we are clearly defining the theory and the concept from the realization and the bad power governed by Stalin, which was also not Lenin. So
More utopianistic, more utopian views.
It's not about that now, because utopian is also a very complex word, and utopian, it's not maybe the word that should be now used, but I'm just saying that we're clearly defining that here is a theory, here is our history, and we really worked on be like equal in the more or less equal relationships with this history, because mostly post-Soviet citizens, they are or exaggerating the history, or they hating it, or excluding, or they are idealizing it. So it's very hard to come to something a healthy, balanced position. That's what we were.
Liz Mulligan, thank you so much, Gluklya, for your talk. And I had some other questions about Scarlet Sails, about the process. I'm really curious, the women in the film, how they, their reactions to the whole project. Because you have, as I assume, actors, but then actual seamstresses, and like how you built trust with them to, partake in this, and if they were hesitant or they thought it was fun, or I'm just curious for what their reactions were, and if I'm assuming this is happening at their workplace, unless it's a set. I guess you can just pull back the curtain a little bit.
Yeah. No, but yeah, thank you. But that was actually all. It was not real. I mean, workers. Yeah, and that is
because yesterday.
Yeah.
I guess to just add one other part, because sometimes you do, you go to, in yesterday's film, it's real life it's a combination of the performance art.
Yeah. No,
Okay, so maybe
sometimes,
if you
yeah.
could just tell.
Yeah. Sometimes this, but mostly because of the fragility of the people that we are working, they don't want to be exposed, and they also haven't time, and they just don't want. So what we are doing, we are collecting material, we're talking with them, so getting into the problem, and then we're inviting actors. So that was actors, and also in other room they are actors. And that's ethical, because otherwise, I mean, it can be, and in Antigone update, it was one person who were not actor. He was a migrant shepherd, but but he was like playing actor. So it's again like a necessarily alienation from being like a person and acting. Yeah. And the girls were mostly young artists from our community who are sewing. And the women, it was open call for Len Film. It's our St. Petersburg Hollywood. And it's also possible to make a casting for the amateur people who wants to be in Masovka, who wants to play sometimes in cinema. So we invited them.
My name is Natalia Pershina-Yakimanskaya. I am Visor Center Fellow. I have just a very simple question. Why did you decide to work on Kyrgyzstan? Why not other countries? What's specific about this country?
Yeah, that's what I think I mentioned that because Kyrgyzstan is the center of the textile production.
Okay.
That it's
A lot of the felt that they made earlier was used for Soviet uniforms.
no, not felt, but they are sewing
The
the
wool.
clothes.
Oh, they
No,
sew.
the wool is another story.
Oh, okay, so
Is
it's just
that-
the sewing.
Is that the material that you like to work with, or why this material is interesting for you?
You mean felt?
Yeah.
Oh, felt is it's about thinking about national roots, because it's so complex. Again, like the central nerve of the research is how we can think about internationalism, like being a nation, but at the same time not scattering to, in this philosophy of transition, not scattering to the wild nationalism, like applying kidnapping or something more horrible, so all can be, and becoming like really national in a bad sense state. So thinking about that, I was traveling and came to this felt technique because it's like very warm, and it's really like a side of the game. It's really like before, it's really old, it's nomadic tradition. And mostly now they are doing very traditional only, so all the production that's coming with this technique is following the traditional line. It's the particular ornament, it's looking like that approved by the canon, and they're doing only that. But my idea was like, it can be also other drawing which was made with this technique, and it was realized in the Soviet time. It was another compositions which we were making by felt, and that's why we came to them and I asked, do you think we can produce not this traditional, which is very beautiful, amazing, but still like it was once upon a time invented, and they are like repeating this ornament. And they said, yeah, why not? Well, let's try. And it was amazing collaboration with them. So everybody will agree, and I think now they're also working with some other artists. Yeah. But it's not typical. It is a few artists who are doing it, but it's still like mostly felt technique is used to reproduce the classical ancient ornament.
Do you have a background as a seamstress?
No.
No? Did you sew growing up?
No. No. For me it was always like, how people are doing that. So it's like a tribute to homage to respect to the workers who are doing this.
But it is such a common theme throughout your work, right? The focus on clothes, clothing, garments. Maybe it's kind of interesting to hear.
Yes, and my clothes is very different. I'm never sewing. I cannot sew because I'm becoming psychopath when I'm sewing. So mostly I'm like doing some, mostly the clothes are like protagonists. They can be with poetry, they can be with holes, they can be with some hairs, they can be with the text, manifest or whatever, but they're like becoming modern clothes.
Well, I think perfectly on time, and
Yeah,
so
thank
we
you.
also thank you, Gluklya. So we'll be opening
Thank
the
you.
exhibit.